found it.
Oh, okay. Is it really?
That's what it's saying.
Oh, she said it's about Lois, maybe Bill's wife.
Okay.
But whatever, because listen, I'm always a fan of talking about fear.
Yeah.
It's a great thing. Are you going to read, or do you want someone to read for you?
No, I want to listen.
You just want to listen?
Okay. Brendan's gonna read.
Brendan?
Okay, no, sorry, I'll read.
Okay, great. Are you fucking with me, or he was supposed to be here and he's not here?
Yeah, Mr.
This is what I want to show you. That's what I was showing you. Wait a while.
Leave the kid.
All right. We are on page 289 out of the big book, Fear of Fear. This lady was cautious. She decided she wouldn't let herself go in her drinking, and she would never take that morning drink. I didn't think I was an alcoholic. I thought my problem was that I had been married to a drunk for 27 years, and when my husband found AA, I came to the second meeting with him. I thought it was wonderful, simply marvelous, for him, but not for me. Then I went to another meeting, and I still thought it was wonderful, for him, but not for me. But then on a hot summer evening, down in Greenwich Village group, and there was a little porch out there in the old meeting place on Sullivan Street. And after the meeting, I went out on the steps for some air. In the doorway stood a lovely young girl who said, "Are you one of us Seuses too? Souses too?" Sorry. I said, "Oh goodness, no. My husband is. He's in there." She told me her name, and I said, "I know you from somewhere." It turned out that she had been in high school with my daughter. I said, "Eileen, are you one of those people?" And she said, "Oh yes, I'm in this." As we walked back through the hall, I, for the first time in my life, said to another human being, "I'm having trouble with my drinking too." She took me by the hand and introduced me to the woman that I'm very proud to call my sponsor. This woman and her husband are both in AA, and she said to me, "Oh, but you're not the alcoholic, it's your husband." I said, "Yes." She said, "How long have you been married?" I said, 27 years. She said, 27 years to an alcoholic. How did you ever stand it? I thought, now here's a nice sympathetic soul. This is for me. I said, "Well, I stood it to keep the home together and for the children's sake." She said, "Yes, I know. You're just a martyr, aren't you?" I walked away from that woman, grinding my teeth and cursing under my breath. Fortunately, I didn't say a word to George on the way home. But that night, I tried to go to sleep, and I thought, "You're some martyr, Jane. Let's look at the record." And when I looked at it, I knew I was just as much a drunk as George was, if not worse. I nudged George next morning, and I said, "I'm in." And he said, "Oh, I knew you'd make it." I started drinking nearly 30 years ago, right after I was married. My first drinking spree was on corn liquor, and I was allergic to it, believe me. I was deathly sick every time I took a drink. But we had to do a lot of entertaining. My husband liked to have a good time. I was very young, and I wanted to have a good time too. The only way I knew to do it was to drink right along with him. I got into terrific trouble with my drinking. I was afraid, and I had made my mind up that I would never get drunk. So I was watchful and careful. We had a small child, and I loved her dearly. So that held me back quite a bit in my drinking career. Even so, every time I drank, I seemed to get in trouble. I always wanted to drink too much, so I was watchful. Always watchful, counting my drinks. If we were invited to a formal party, and I knew that they were only going to have 1 or 2 drinks, I wouldn't have any. I was being very cagey because I knew that if I did take 1 or 2, I might want to take 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. I did stay fairly good for a few years, but I wasn't happy, and I didn't ever let myself go in my drinking. After my son, our second child, came along, and as he became school age and was away at school most of the time, something happened. I really started drinking with a bang. I never went to a hospital, I never lost a job, I was never in jail. And unlike many others, I never took a drink in the morning. I needed a drink, but I was afraid to take a morning drink because I didn't want to be a drunk. I became a drunk anyway, but I was scared to death to take that morning drink. I was accused of it many times when I went to play bridge in the afternoon, but I really never did take a morning drink. I was still woozy from the night before. I should have lost my husband, and I think that only the fact that he was an alcoholic too kept us together. No one else would have stayed with me. Many women who have reached the stage that I had reached in my drinking have lost husbands, children, homes, everything they hold dear. I have been very fortunate in many ways. The important thing I lost was my own self-respect. I could feel fear coming into my life. I couldn't face people. I couldn't look them straight in the eye, although I'd always been a self-possessed, brazen person. I'd brazen anything out. I lied like a trooper to get out of many scrapes. But I felt a fear coming into my life, and I couldn't cope with it. I got so that I hid quite a bit of the time, wouldn't answer the phone, and stayed by myself as much as I could. I noticed that I was avoiding all my social friends except for my bridge club. I couldn't keep up with any of my other friends, and I wouldn't go to anyone's house unless I knew they drank as heavily as I did. I never knew it was the first drink that did it. I thought I was losing my mind when I realized that I couldn't stop drinking. That frightened me terribly. George tried many times to go on the wagon. If I had been sincere in what I thought I wanted more than anything else in life, a sober husband and a happy, contented home, I would have gone on the wagon with him. I did try, for a day or two, but something would always come up that would throw me. It would be a little thing, the rugs being crooked or any silly little thing that I think was wrong, and off I'd go, drinking, and sneaking my drinks. I had bottles hidden all over the apartment. I didn't think my children knew about it, but I found out they did. It's surprising how we think we fool everybody in our drinking. I can relate to that so freaking much.
Well, you said it
Me
before.
too.
You said it right before that you wouldn't really hang out with anybody unless they drank like you, like, because we always do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so many parts that I can relate to. I
Yeah.
had bottles everywhere. I was actually just talking to Jody about it. Like, you know, I would go to dinners with people, and you know, I'd have one or two glasses of wine. It was like, cool, you know, Craig's a social drinker. I'm like, yeah, they have no idea I had 2 bottles of wine before I got here.
Well, you know, Clifton that comes,
Yeah.
he literally said the same type of stuff like that. Like if he was going out for work, he wouldn't drink with anybody, but he would stay there for as little as he needed to, and then he'd get out of there and he would drink like he'd want to drink. You know, because he said once he started, so he'd go out with everybody, be happy hour, he'd hang out for 30, 40 minutes, and then boom.
I know we're all gonna be diabetics by the time we leave here, right?
What'd you say?
We're all gonna be diabetics by the time we get
Well, you know what it is, right? You guys, they told you that before, right? Your body breaks alcohol down into sugar.
Yeah.
So, you know, you crave sugar when you come into a place like this.
And it
Plus
turns
the
into
water
serotonin.
and
Yeah.
this, and it's like, hey, it tastes good, I might as well do it.
Yeah.
Good.
I reached a stage where I couldn't go into my apartment without a drink. It didn't bother me anymore whether George was drinking or not. I had to have liquor. Sometimes I would lie on the bathroom floor, deathly sick, praying I would die, and praying to God as I always had prayed to him when I was drinking. Dear God, get me out of this one, and I'll never do it again. And then I'd say, God, don't pay any attention to me. You know I'll do it tomorrow. The very same thing.
Well, listen, all right, so how many of us have had legal troubles? How many times, as soon as they put the handcuffs on you, you're ready to give your life over to Jesus, I'll be good, I'll never do, I mean, convinced, I will never do anything again.
Yeah.
And then you get bail or you get out and you're like, you know what?
Even more mad?
May have been overreacting.
I got out of it.
I
It
know,
was
I
me.
know.
Well,
Come pick me up.
here's
Can
the
you talk about
thing.
beer store?
Well, here's the thing. I'll be honest with you. I really wasn't much of a, like, I don't know. I felt like, why would I pray to God to get me out of trouble? Like when, do you understand what I'm saying? Like I kind of felt guilty doing it. But I heard this guy say in a meeting one time, and he said, and this guy was always in trouble and stuff. He's like, I used to pray to God, like if you do this and I won't do that. And he's like, and then I realized, I don't have anything that God wants. And when he said that, I was like, it's true. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna try to make a deal with God? Right.
It's not related, but there's like this comedian, he talks about like how he gets really religious before flies on an airplane.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like helping old ladies with their bags and like putting them up, you know, and then like showing God, like, look how good I am, you know, and then when it lands, he's like, not my way.
Well, anybody in here knows who Bear Grylls is?
Yeah.
Bear Grylls is a fucking hero, but he was having a conversation with somebody one day and it was about God and stuff like that. And the guy was like, yeah, he's like, you know, I know some people are atheists and don't believe. He's like, you know what? They're stuck in like a life raft in the middle of the Indian Ocean. I bet you they'll be praying to God. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, cause then, like, what else do you got? Cause I really do feel like there's gotta be something, I know for me, like, I always thought there was something. Like, come on, like, to think that, like, this is it, like who in here really believes in an afterlife? I do. I mean, My personal belief is that you're put on earth to be a spirit, like to be the best person that you could be. Because if any of you have ever heard the full serenity prayer, it talks about in the serenity prayer, so I could be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy in the next. I think that, like, I don't know how it works over there, but I think get your spirituality, be the most loving and kind and giving person, and then when you go there, whatever, you know. This ain't like this is just, it's just a physical. You know what I mean? Because it's people's energy. That's what they bring to the table. Good.
I used to make excuses to try and get George off the wagon. I'd get so fed up with drinking all alone and bearing the burden of guilt all by myself that I'd egg him on to drink to get started again. And then I'd fight with him because he had started. And the whole merry-go-round would be on again. And he, poor dear, didn't know what was going on. He used to wonder when he'd spot one of the bottles around the house, just how he could have overlooked that particular bottle. I myself didn't know all the places I had hidden them. Yep, I know that.
Yeah, been there, yeah. Where the fuck did I put that?
When they went through my car, I thought all the bottles were gone. Like, we found 2 empty wine bottles in your car. I was like, interesting. Anyways, we have only been in AA a few years, but now we're trying to make up for lost time. 27 years of confusion is what my early married life was. Now the picture has changed completely. We have faith in each other, trust in each other, and understanding. AA has given us that. It has taught me so many things. It has changed my thinking entirely about everything I do. I can't afford resentments against anyone because they are the buildup of another drunk. I must live and think that one important word means so much to me. My life was always act and react. I never stopped to think. I just didn't give a whoop about myself or anyone else. I try to live our program as it has been outlined to me.
Anybody, what can you guys identify with that? It was act or react. You do this to me, I'm gonna do this to you. You say this to me, I'm gonna say that to you. Like, you know, for real. Like, and like I was saying before, like, we're so ultra sensitive that people might react in a way and we automatically take it personally. How dare you? I can't believe that. You know, if people don't say hi to us the right way, we get pissed off. I mean, here's the thing about this. Our perception is way off. When I say all the time that this is a disease of low self-esteem and fear, and when someone told me that a long time ago, I'm like, man, that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? I don't have low self-esteem and I'm not afraid of anything. And really, I just really didn't know what I was talking about. And then he said, well, how about egomaniac with an inferiority complex? I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely me. Egomaniac, inferiority complex. I just messed it up. When you're walking through life making decisions either from way up here or way down here, your perception is completely off. You're not looking at, we don't have a good baseline perception of what things are. Good.
I agree with that.
I try to live our program as it has been outlined to me, one day at a time. I try to live today so that tomorrow I won't be ashamed when I wake up in the morning. In the old days, I hated to wake up and look back at what last night had been like. I never could face it the next morning. And unless I had some rosy picture of what was going to happen that day, I wouldn't even feel like getting up in the morning at all.
Anybody identify with that?
Oh, yeah.
Like I would, listen, even with drugs in my pocket, I'd wake up and dread. Like on Monday through a Thursday, Friday was like the only day that I was like halfway decent about getting out of bed for. Cause I had set, you know what I mean? But God, life felt like a goddamn chore all the time.
Yep.
Go ahead.
It really wasn't living. Now I feel so grateful not only for my sobriety, which I try to maintain day by day, but I'm grateful also for the ability to help other people. I never thought I could be useful to anyone except my husband and my children and perhaps a few friends. But AA has shown me that I can help other alcoholics. Many of my neighbors devoted time to volunteer work. There was one woman especially, and I've watched her from my window every morning, leaving faithfully to go to the hospital in the neighborhood. I said to her one day when I met her on the street, "What sort of volunteer work do you do?" She told me it was simple. I could have done it very easily. She said, "Why don't you do it too?" I said, "I'd love to." She said, "Suppose I put your name down as a volunteer, even if you can only give 1 or 2 days." But then I thought, well, now wait. How will I feel next Tuesday? How will I feel next Friday, if I make it a Friday? How will I feel next Saturday morning? I never knew. I was afraid to set even one day. I could never be sure I'd have a clear head and hands that were willing to do some work. So I never did any volunteer work, and I felt depleted, whipped. I had the time, I certainly had the capability, but I never did a thing. I am trying now, each day, to make up for all those selfish, thoughtless, foolish things I did in my drinking days. I hope that I never forget to be grateful.
Who in here has done volunteer work before?
Yeah.
Okay. What is that? Someone tell me what they felt like doing that.
Good,
Yeah,
wonderful,
yeah.
it's a good,
Feels amazing.
wonderful feeling.
Here's what I'm trying to tell you. This right here, work clean, sober, work the steps. It gets you to, we were all put on earth to be selfless. We were all put on earth to help each other and to teach each other and to reach each other and to love each other. When you are doing that, you feel as connected and as good as you possibly can. That's like I say, you know, the Chevy Tahoe thing, like I keep saying, like if you buy a Chevy Tahoe and you want it to last as long as possible, you put the right fuel in it, the right oil, you take care of it, you put the right tires on. Like, that's what we need to do for ourselves. Let me ask you something. When you're doing volunteer work, were you feeling guilty, shitty, shameful, remorseful about it?
No.
No. Because listen, love between human beings, love is the highest form of understanding. And love comes in a bunch of different ways, but service work is definitely love. And when you give, you receive. I took last time my kids were here, yeah, they were here for the summer. My oldest daughter came too for the first week. We went on a Saturday, we went to Houston. My girlfriend does it once a month. She goes and gives to the homeless and this. I took them with me. Man, I was so proud of how easily they didn't complain once. My oldest daughter was out there running stuff and she's telling them what to do and they're doing this. And you know what I mean? Like, it just came natural for them to be kind and to be loving. I tell this story all the time. Like, I get kidney stones sometimes. If I were to drop to my knees right now with kidney stones, every single one of you would get up and help me and give to me. And this is what we were programmed to do. This is what we should be doing. The way we were living is not what we were supposed to do. And that's why we got so much conflict going on inside. That's why we got so much misery and pain, because it goes against our natural makeup. I don't know if it's in our DNA, but I believe it is. I believe that's what it is. We've been looking at things, our perceptions off, we've been looking at things the wrong way. And here's what it really comes down to. We've been basically one walking, talking self-defense mechanism. We've been running from the pain, but what have we really been doing? Bringing it right to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way we're going, like, you know what I mean? Like, we're trying to run from emotions and run from this, and our coping skill is to get high and to not deal with things and do this, but does it really fix anything?
No,
Makes it
problems are
worse.
still there.
Yeah, it makes it worse.
It makes it worse.
Makes it worse. Because this is what I'm telling you. The one single thing that every single human being on this planet has in common is they're going to go through pain in their life. And how you deal with that pain is going to determine how the rest of your life goes. Right? Because whatever don't kill you can make you stronger if you deal with it in a sober and healthy way. Because whatever don't kill you will kill you and make you miserable in the process if you don't deal with it in a healthy way. Like, who's all my guys in the vets were in combat and stuff like that? Terrible shit. I know. Terrible shit. But if you don't deal with it, it's gonna deal with you. When I found out, and it didn't surprise me, although it did surprise me, when I found out more of you guys commit suicide than die over in combat, do you understand what I'm saying? Why is that? Because they come back, you guys come back with all this shit and you don't deal with it because it goes against, like, we're so self-destructive that it goes against how we feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, we feel like we should shove it down. We feel like, how many times have we said, well, it is what it is, what the fuck, you know? But that's not, you can't do that to yourself. We are all damaged people. We're all walking around this earth damaged. We were all kind of, in my opinion, we were all given, whether we learned it or formed our own ideas or whatever it was, but we were given bad information and we've went with it. You know what I mean? Like, we haven't matured or grown up or processed things. It's like we have just been going through life, putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound, pardon the pun, whatever. And this is the end result. Like, you're here. This might be the last time you ever get to come to a place like this. It could be the last time. You never really know. Everybody is being shown the door right now. Everybody is being shown a better way. It's going to take work. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to suck. But like I was telling these two guys, what is your main goal? What do you want? And even if your main goal is to be sober, happy, and feel a part of society. Be the best mom or dad or brother or husband or wife you can. Like, if that's what you want to do, this will get you there. What you're doing is not working. If it was working, you wouldn't be here. Anybody want to share anything? Yeah, Cole.
Just something that Shane said at the AA meeting last week just keeps resonating with me. That
Good.
he said that some of us have to die for the rest of us to live, and yeah, I don't want to be the one. I want to be the one that lives. You know.
Well,
This is my last time. You know.
here's the thing. I don't like doing the numbers thing. I don't like. First of all, that's true. Not everybody's gonna make it. Truth is, most people ain't gonna make it. You know, and you'll hear in meetings, and I hate when people say this. They'll say, "This isn't for people that want it. This ain't for people that need it. It's for the people that want it." And I don't like that, because I believe I know every single person in here needs that. And I believe most of you want it. It's for the people that do it. It's for the people that do the work. Go ahead, Colton.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Colton.
I just-
Go ahead, come on in, come on in, come on in. It's for the people that do it. Those are the people that get better. The ones that get up and do it. The ones that are like, you know what? I tell you all the time, you need to get mad at this. You need to say, fuck that, I'm not going out like this. I'm not gonna let anybody in here like the decisions they make under the influence? Anybody like the way the drugs and alcohol make them feel about themselves the next day?
No.
No. No, you have to be like, I'm not doing, like, you have to really make a decision. I'm willing to do anything. I'll ask people all the time, I'll ask Cole, is that anything? All right, well, it's crazy because it's not much, but here's the thing, it's every day. You know what I mean? Because I would have dug a ditch around this whole fucking place with a spoon. So I can, all right, and be done. You know what I mean? But that's not the way it works. The way it works every single day. You gotta put your head down, you gotta move forward. You gotta be willing to be uncomfortable. You gotta be willing to look at yourself and realize, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Like I was saying in the last group, like if a counselor or if somebody says, you know how many times people fire their sponsor because they hate them? Why do you think they do that? You really think it's a personality conflict?
Because they tell them the truth.
Tell them the truth, told them to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
Said, no, I don't think it's a good idea that you move in with this guy or girl 60 days into your sobriety.
Yeah.
Well, fuck that. Don't tell me what to do. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, it's like self-righteous and indignant. Don't tell me what to do. Well, Jesus fucking Christ, if you knew what to do, you wouldn't need a sponsor at all.
I used to go to a meeting as soon as I got off work over in Houston, and I'd get a cup of coffee and go to the meeting, and you'd hear these old timers say all kinds of stuff, you know.
Like, say something.
If the program don't work for you, try working the program, you know.
Yes.
And you'll hear all kinds of stuff. But I would think, man, is this all there is? And then I would think, well, hell, I could be getting drunk too and getting locked up. So it's a hell of a lot better than it was. I mean,
It's true.
face it, what are you gonna do? You know?
That's what I'm saying. If you want that to be a part of your life, like, the realest shit you'll ever hear, and this is, nothing changes if nothing changes. And if you want something you've never had, you gotta be willing to do stuff you've never done. I don't know anybody that was like us and decided that they were just gonna stop drinking and be in great relationships and go, like, you know what I'm saying? That never works for anybody.
The fellowship can be very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Better to go to an AA meeting than go to a bar full of drunks. People, you can't leave your wallet on the bar and just go to the bathroom and come back and might be gone.
Well, all right, how about this? What kind of conversations do you have in bars or houses?
I mean, like what's his name?
Funny
said the other
stories.
night. What's that guy's name?
Right? None of it means anything.
He said you can have shit in one hand and maybe in the other. Which one you gonna pick?
Yeah.
You gonna pick the shit or you gonna try this?
To
Something
me,
different.
yeah. Well, that's what I was saying the other day. I said, even if there was a 10% chance that what I say could happen, wouldn't it be willing to, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, you could feel warm. You could feel free. You could feel good. You could be happy. Like, I'm telling you, I had a doctor or whatever he was. He said, Mike, he said, don't you think you could be happy? Or he said, what would make you happy? And I laughed at him. I said, bro, I'm not, like, I never even thought I could be happy. You know what I told him? I just want to be able to breathe. That's what I want to do. I just want to, I said, I'd settle for content. I would settle for content or be able to breathe or not have to, like, constantly want to make myself feel better or constantly chase something or be able to sit still for more than 10 seconds without jumping out of my skin.
Right.
without wanting to curse someone out or put someone in their place or talk shit, or like the story we read the other day where I love where it says that he was the chief critic. Because there's many times in my life when I was the chief critic where every fucking person around me was a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? And I was miserable. Nothing. I mean, it could have been a perfect day with a rainbow and I find a goddamn pothole and I'd be like, see, this is what the fuck. You know what I mean? Like miserable. Like I couldn't see the beauty of nothing. I mean, no matter how good my life was going at the time, 99 things out of 100 could be going right. And that one thing that was going wrong, it was like fucking everything up.
I guess
Ruining my
point
day.
was, normal people do different things than we do.
Yeah.
And I'm not a normal person, I'm an alcoholic. And I either go to meetings or I go to jail.
Well, let me ask you something. Well, here's the thing, right? Do you understand, and anybody wants to debate this or talk about this, our brains, it's a gift and a curse. Do you understand what I'm
Yeah, I'm
saying?
glad
It's
I
a
know
gift
it's
and a
powerful.
curse. And here's the thing, if you don't know how to tune this brain up, it's gonna be a curse. It's gonna lead, like when I say, you are self-destructive to the core and you don't even know it. Like I don't care how good you want things to go out. In the end, you'll wind up drinking, getting high, ruining every relationship, messing up a job, going to jail. Like, that's what's gonna happen if you keep going the way you're going. Like, when I tell you it's a fact, it's a 100% fact. Like, if you were in this place, whether it's your first time or your 100th time in a treatment center or jail, the party's been over for a long time. Party's been over for a long time. Like you said, you want to shit in one hand or maybe in another. Why not try the maybe?
You're eventually gonna get tired of the shit.
Or die.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the thing. Or die.
It's like just with my appointment with the doctor, he goes, Jody, there's no such thing as a happy drunk. You're never gonna be a happy drunk.
Yeah. Cause listen, no matter how high I was and no matter how things were going, like inside I had that conflict going on. Come on, man, what's wrong with you? You're better than this. What the fuck? I mean, the hate that I accumulated over the years of using, man, it took a long time to get out from under. The only thing that allowed me to get out from under that was that I realized I was sick. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, if I wasn't able to be like, man, I actually really was sick, I wouldn't have been able to let that go. I wouldn't have been able to let it go. I'd have been like, man, you ain't nothing but a liar, cheat, and a thief, and a piece of shit. I would have never been able to let it go. When I realized I was sick, I'm like, okay, so now that I'm sick, I'm gonna do everything I can to not be sick, because now I got no, you understand what I'm saying? There ain't no more get out of jail free cards. Like, if you really believe it, then what are you doing about it? Because I hate when people say, well, I'm an addict, what do you expect? You know, progress, not perfection. I said, I expect you not to be a shitty fucking person on purpose. Yeah.
Page 30, you know what's on page 30?
Oh, I know it's on page 30. They love
It
reading
says
that.
that we've all tried to drink like normal people,
Yeah.
time and time again. And I knew a guy that, if he was your sponsor, he would have you memorize that page.
Yeah. Well,
I'm gonna have to memorize.
we're not normal.
I'm just saying, I knew somebody,
Yeah.
because it
Well, it
says
says right in there, it
It's
says-
all there.
And then it says, we drink because we like the effect produced by alcohol. What was the effect for us?
Numbness?
Whatever.
Numbness, shut the pain off. For me, it was to shut the I'm no good voice off. You know
But
what I
the
mean?
delusion
Every-
has to be smashed.
that,
And
and,
we can drink like normal people.
and what's a delusion?
Fantasy,
A lie we tell ourselves.
lie.
Yeah. The
Saying we can have just one.
Yeah.
Nobody will find out.
Absolutely.
We'll deal with it later. How many times did people drink or get high saying, I'll stop tomorrow, next week, next year? Oh, man. And in that time, like, yeah, every day.
Every day.
Every day. I mean, if you want to continue to torture yourself, keep doing what you're doing. Because that's all it is. I'm telling you, anybody in here, anybody that's ever been in recovery or AA or treatment centers, you've all heard this, and like maybe if it's your first time, you don't believe it's true, but I promise you, AA or NA or any of these, it ruins your drinking forever. You know what I mean? No?
No, I mean, I'll end up in jail and then I won't be able to drink,
Yeah.
you know?
But I mean, do you know what I'm saying? Like, once you know there's a better way, and then you keep going. See, I was strung out for 8 to 10 years, every day taking painkillers, this, that, the other thing. And it wasn't until I went to a treatment. See, when I would go to a treatment center and I'd get 6 months clean and I'd relapse, I could never use for more than a couple of months before I had to go back to treatment, because I was like, oh, like, do you understand? I couldn't use the way I used to use because I knew there was a better way. It was crazy. I tell people all the time, from 2010 to 2018, I was sober 90% of that time. I would be sober for months at a time, and all I want to do is get high. All I want to do is get high, and nobody find out, and everybody leave me alone, right? And the minute I get high, now I'm a real piece of shit who can't even stay sober. I'm gonna ruin everything. And now, because now I'm lying to everybody, and I can't even look people in the eye. You know what I mean? And it's like, so I had 1 foot here, 1 foot here. All I wanted to do was be over here. The second I got over here, I wanted to be over here. Holy shit, man! It was torture. It was torture. It was torture. See, the thing is, I never knew that. I didn't care, no matter how much somebody told me that they were happy being sober, I didn't ever think that could be me. I didn't ever think that could be me.
It takes time.
Did you work the steps is what happened?
Oh, yes. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I only had to work steps 1 through 5 before I had the freedom of the, what do you call that, the obsession. The obsession was lifted after I did 1 through 5, and not the day I finished step 5. But in that month, I said, holy shit, I haven't thought about getting high, and now I don't want nothing to do. You understand what I'm saying? I was like, holy shit. I remember telling my friends in Boston and shit like that, I said, holy shit, this thing might actually work. And I still didn't even believe it. I was like, it might work. But I was like, what did I do? I kept doing what I was doing. I did not let, I was like, man, I still kept going 2 meetings a day. I'm reading a book. Now I'm like, holy shit, they actually know something. I want to know everything about this shit. I listen to every speaker tape and everything, and I read every book that someone told me to read, and I read this book so many times. Like, I said, holy shit, like, I want to know. I want to know. And this is what, like, you go to any church, any denomination, anything, and it says this shit up here. It says, be grateful, be selfless,
It's a weed program.
be kind, be loving.
We-
Yeah, exactly.
We admit it.
And all it is telling you, hey, bro, life's not about you. You are not the most important thing in this world. When you turn your life over and you make the people around you and strength, like when you make everybody else important and you give to everybody else, you receive more love and more, I mean, life is just so much better that way. And this thing, if you still want to be a selfish person, just remember, it's going to make you feel better than it makes them feel. Like I said, you go do the service work and you do this and you do that. How good does it make you feel to do that type of stuff? Yeah, it makes you feel like a human being. What's it feel like?
Those guys that come
Who
here
likes to
30
get
years
high?
old,
Who
they
likes to
get
get
a lot.
high in the bathroom? I used to like to get high in the bathroom by myself. I hate.
Get drunk in the shower.
I mean, that's
I
no,
Mark.
that's no life. Yeah, those guys. I mean, look at Gordon.
Oh, they love it.
Gordon's the crankiest old man I think
He's-
you know what I'm saying?
Man, that's the
Like-
whole life, highlight of the program.
Could you imagine if Gordon
Ryan?
was an alcoholic? I mean, he'd be shooting at people for driving past his house.
Gordon's a fucking killer.
Ryan's only
Literally.
been sober 7 years.
What?
Only. He's got quality.
Dude, I told you I had a conversation with Brian one time, and he was like, Mike, I used to be arrogant bastard. And I'm thinking, like, look at, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the guy's 6'7", you know what I'm saying? I can see him walking around, like, you know what I'm saying? And then you hear the way he talks now, and you hear how spiritual he is, and how kind he
So
is.
knowledgeable about
Yeah.
AA.
It's like he's connected with the universe, with the universe. The universe has a plan for all of us, and it doesn't mean like, you know, this type of plan. It means get in line with the flow of energy that goes the right way, and you'll feel better about yourself. And you'll feel complete. Like I say all the time, like who in here's favorite relative or favorite person was somebody that was just really kind? It's usually someone's grandparent. You know what I'm saying? And they were just so nice and loving and selfless, and they weren't bitter, resentful, and angry and drunk all the time. Like this is the people that like have the biggest impact on us as human beings. Be that person. I took my nephews out for dinner last night. Like my nephews are 15 and 13, and they weren't like bored or miserable the whole time. They were in the beginning, messing with their phones and stuff. But we started talking and laughing and hanging out. My nephew sent me a text this morning, like, "Thanks, Uncle Mike. I had a good time," and this and that. It's like, I know I have a good impact on their life. I know it. You know, and it's like, man, fuck. You know, sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I didn't wait so long to get sober. And then I realize that's a dope fiend mentality because instead of just being, well, here's the thing, instead of just being grateful I am where I am today, I wanted it faster and I want more. So that's when I realized, man, that's just dope fiend thinking. Like, you know, it's just, because I think of it in a good way. So I'm like, man, I could have been helping people and I could have been, you know what I mean, sooner. But it's just, it's life.
It's a crazy thing.
Yeah, well, that's how we think, man. Listen, anybody in here have the mentality like the grass is always greener on the other side? We're in a relationship. I just want to be single. We're single. I'm like, I just want to be in a relationship. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we do because it's that uncomfortability of ourselves. Like, it's that like I say all the time, who in here believes this is a disease? Everybody puts their hand up. And then I'll say, well, break down the word disease. Dis-ease. We have a dis-ease of ourselves. We're not okay with ourselves. And when we're using and doing what we're doing, that's where all the guilt, shame, remorse, and the stuff. I mean, we need to get right with ourselves. We need to put that shit behind us and move forward. And like I was saying to David before, I really want you guys to say, all right, what is my main goal? My main goal, to be the best human being that I can be and be happy? Well, don't let nothing get in that way. Who cares what someone says or thinks about you or what happened? Like, you need to brush that off and just say, I'm not letting nothing get in my way. Because the thing about us is, we lack discipline. We say, yep, we're gonna do this, and then the minute something tragic happens, like a broken shoelace or somebody says something to us that we don't like, oh, we're off. You know what I mean? And that, don't do that. If that's not being self-destructive, I don't know what is. So anybody got anything? Thank you for the story.
No, you are welcome.
We're gonna miss you.
Thank you.
You are. You were really good for the community. You really, I'm proud of you.
Boils down to self-centeredness. We're all self-centered, and if you don't give it away, step 12, you probably won't stay sober.
Well, so here's the thing. This is the thing I didn't like, right? Like, even when I read the book, when we get to this part in the book, it says our problems are from selfishness and self-centeredness. I don't like that because I know when I heard the word selfish growing up, or when I heard selfish, that was just somebody that didn't care about somebody else. And the thing is, I've seen all of you guys. I've seen you guys go out of your way for people. And you guys are kind people, and you're sympathetic and empathetic, but I like self-centeredness, right? Because we're going through life, and we really, truly can't. I can't look at his point of view because I see. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Out there's where we're going to be challenged.
Well, you'd be challenged in here, but you're right. More challenged out there. I mean, this thing's not easy. It's not easy.
Easier in here.
Oh, it's easy here, no doubt. No doubt. But it's definitely harder out there. And, like I keep telling you, like when I tell you this, I believe in every single person in here. I believe in this program so much, I would bet my kid's life on this program if you do it the way this book says. I put my kid's life on that line for you. You know what I mean? But you have to do what it says. What's the first thing it says? I'm powerless over alcohol, so you cannot drink ever. You cannot drink, and then you need to work the rest of the steps. And if you do it the way it's supposed to be done.
And that last word is unmanageable, not manageable.
Yeah. Well, when you do the work and when you figure some stuff out, you'll realize your life was unmanageable way before you started drinking. That's why we started drinking, to help manage with the emotions. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then it just became the thing that was our solution, became the problem. Now because I just asked him before, right? What do you, the most important word, remember the story he was telling before about how he had everything, he was the best at work and the best this. I said, and that works for a while. Because I know my addiction, I was managing for a while. And then it had become unmanageable. Once it had become unmanageable, I'm effed. You know what I mean? Like that, you know what I mean? Like, because when it was manageable, light work, everything's fine. Now that it's unmanageable, fuck, what do I do? Yeah.
You remember the story Gutter Bravado in here?
I told you, the only two stories I really read with you guys, I've read the whole book a few
Yeah.
times, but I don't remember the stories like that.
The end of it is like one of my favorites. I've read like shit ton of this book, but it's really good. I wish I could talk more of the shit right now.
Well, see, I like the stories because, look at the story we were reading before. Like, this was a woman, right? Who knows when it was written? Almost all of you guys, every one of you guys, like, man, I ended up, like, if you can't identify with every one of those stories, you're not looking at it the right way.
Wasn't it written when the woman was founded, and she said she was
Story.
No, because that wasn't Bill's wife, no, it wasn't Bill's wife. She said her husband's name was, I don't know, something else. Yeah, but it wasn't.
She didn't drink that.
No, I don't think Lois drank either, yeah.
Can I try to read this? It's
I would
only
love
like a page and a half.
All right, let's do it. I don't care. Shit. They're gonna be mad at you, but I'm not.
Alright. Is it cool, y'all?
Cool. It's a
What
page.
was your page?
Cold. Your mouth.
If you don't mind.
All right, so
Okay.
Craig's gonna read it. Tell everybody what page you're on.
It's the end of the last paragraph on page 509. but it starts on there and then it's lasts like another page and a half
Is it?
or so.
This is all good stuff.
Oh, dude, see,
Yeah.
so I tape some of these. guys,
Yes.
Real quick before we start, I tape some of these. and I have
There
some,
and then just the next page.
hold on. I tape some of these. I have them on.
Hey, cold finish.
And the YouTube channel or
Yeah.
whatever that I have, I call it the only thing worth talking about. Because to me, I think this is the only thing worth talking about. What does I mean? I mean being the best that you could be. Let's talk about love, spirituality, coping skills, helping each other. To me, that's the only thing worth talking about. Who here wants to talk about politics?
Okay.
Want to talk about gas prices? I'll talk about sport. I'll talk about sports sometimes.
I'm talking about inflation.
Well, but I want to talk about what can we do to like help you and make you better and you know what I'm saying? Like, what can we do to help
And
each
then
other?
just
Helping each other right now.
No, no doubt about it. This is building. Guys, chill.
Sorry, sir.
This is what we're trying to do here. We're building to high levels of understanding, which I told you before with love. And it's like there's energy in this room and there's healing in this room and we're all connected. Like this is what life is about: connection, love, healing, kindness. Like this is what it's about. Like all that other shit. Like I said, none of it matters. Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, they were telling me where to start reading.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I know, but I'm.
Yeah, I know, you're
Thank
making
you.
a point, I understand, sorry about that. The meetings gave me what my sponsor likes to call one of the most important words in the big book. AA put a "we" in my life. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol. I no longer had to be alone. Fellowship and activity kept me coming back long enough to work the 12 steps. The more I did, the better I felt. I started hanging out with my sponsor and some active people at the meetings. They showed me how gratitude is something that is demonstrated, not talked about. Gratitude is action. They suggested I was lucky to still have a car, even though it was a junker. Therefore, I might consider taking the less fortunate to meetings. They reminded me you can't teach anything to a know-it-all, so remain teachable. When old behaviors started to creep back in, they called me on it. When life just didn't feel right, they talked about developing faith and relying on my higher power. They told me lack of power was my dilemma and that there's a solution. I took to AA immediately and believed like a child that if I leveled my pride enough to thoroughly follow their path, I'd get what they had. And it worked. Starting out, I just wanted to keep the authorities off my back. I never bargained for this program's changing the course of my life or showing me the way to freedom and happiness. Still very impatient, I wanted the whole deal right away. That's why I related so well to the story about a wide-eyed new person and an old-timer. When the newcomer approached the old-timer, envying his accomplishments and many years of sobriety, the old-timer slapped down his hand like a gavel and said, I'll trade you even. My 30 years for your 30 days right now. He knew what the newcomer had yet to find out, that true happiness is found in the journey, not the destination. So today I'm much more comfortable with life, as Alcoholics Anonymous have promised, and I know they're right when they say it keeps getting better. My circumstances have steadily improved as my spiritual life grows and matures. Words cannot begin to describe the feelings in my heart as I sometimes ponder how much my life has changed, how far I've come, and how much there is yet to discover. And though I'm not sure where my journey may take me next, I'll know I'll owe it to the grace of God and the 3 words of the 12 steps. Continue, improve, and practice. Oh, and one more thing they told me. Humility is the key.
And thank you, and I'm sorry for getting
No worries.
frustrated. But here's the thing, and this is what I love, because where he talks about, I had a car, but it wasn't a good one. And somebody's like, yeah, but it's good enough to take, right? Like, isn't that a change of perspective? Instead of going, man, this is like, what can I do instead of what it is? Like, it really, this whole thing is a perspective shift. How to look at things differently. I'm telling you, I still get into that sometimes. I still get into, man, like, I had way more money at 24, 34, you know?
And we're all gonna be approached with that peculiar mental twist. You think that it's ever gonna go away.
Well, it actually,
You're gonna be tempted to drink. Insanity will return. You better have a coping skill.
I mean, you know, I tell people all the time, like, it was years ago, and I was in the barber shop in Roosevelt, and they shut it down early, and they brought out beards and this and the other thing, and I was like, man, that looks good. And I'm like, are you crazy? I don't even like it. You know what I mean?
Without anger or something like that.
But I'm just saying, it just made, like, that's the thing, like, and I don't think about it anymore. Like, I could be around my sister and my girlfriend and everybody drinking wine, they're hanging out, like, I don't think, I wasn't put on earth for that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Anger is the biggest luxury we cannot afford.
Yeah, And listen, that, to me, I've said it in meetings, wait, my anger can get me in so much more trouble today than heroin or cocaine can. You know what I mean?
You drink.
Well, yeah, but it could also have me in a situation where I'm rolling around the floor with somebody at a gas station or some crazy shit because, you know, they said something, or I did, like, some bullshit that don't mean nothing, you know what I mean? Like my pride or my false sense of pride. You know what I mean? Like that, that's still something I gotta work on, because my ego pops up all the time. Your ego is not your amigo. Your ego is the one that says, or it says, I'm better or I'm worse. You understand what I'm saying? My humility says we. The ego says I. Yes.
I just had a question. Did you say that can you be around other people drinking?
Yeah.
Okay, at this point you can.
If you're spiritually fit.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
okay.
like I wouldn't go sit in a fucking trap house while they're selling heroin and this and the other, and
Oh,
sit there.
sure.
Like, I can't sell. If I tried to sell drugs, only a matter of time before I do them. You can't live. You can't be dirty and live clean, or
Right.
live clean and be
Sure.
whatever. Well,
Sure.
I get, you know what I mean? Like, that's the whole thing, but when it comes to, like, the thought of getting high, and the thought of drinking, and the thought of that, like, that is not something, the peculiar mental, like, sanity has returned for me. So when the thought pops into my head, because I am powerless over the first thought that pops into my head. But you know what the second thought is? The second thought is, are you crazy? You know what I mean?
That's what Bill did, remember? He had a mental twist when he was in the motel.
Yeah,
And it said sanity, he returned.
yeah, but see, this is the difference, right? Bill,
That
was
insanity
6
for a
months-
second,
he was
because he
6
thought about drinking.
yeah, well, he was 6 months sober, and he hadn't worked all 12 steps. Do you understand what I'm saying? He had discovered the 12 step that day, but he was only 6 months sober, hanging out in the bar. I would have never, well, I wasn't really an alcoholic, I don't like hanging out in bars anyway, but do you understand my point? Like, I'm telling you, when you really get aligned, when it says in the book, you ever read in the book, you ever hear me say where it says, we will know our Creator? Do you know what that means? That means that you will know what you were put on earth for. You don't know your Creator, you know what I'm
That's
saying?
not gonna keep you sober, though.
What?
That's not gonna keep you sober.
That's what keeps me sober. God, if God has a plan for me, if God has something for me to do, and I'm drinking or getting high, I will not hear, do you understand what I'm saying? I may not get the message, I may not be able to perform that work. I was not put on earth to drink, get high, act silly, and upset everybody around me. I was put here to be of service, not to suck the life out of everybody. You
You're
understand?
eligible too.
Yeah, I get it, I mean.
Yet.
I don't know, yeah, you're right. Okay, guys, we're good. Everybody good? Yeah. All right, thank you.